Hey, I'm tired of letting that timer run down. Jen here, and I am tired still because yesterday I took my son to the Free Julian Assange rally held in front of the British Embassy. We weren't there as protesters or activists, we were there as journalists. So he's 11 years old and had the day off of school, so he thought that was pretty cool. I gave him a camera, but so he took a lot of great pictures and things like that. We got some good footage. We had a good day. But the British Embassy is nowhere near the subway, so we had to, or the metro as it is in DC. So we had to walk up and down all these roads and past all these different embassies. And finally, we ended up going up this trail, and it was a whole ordeal. So by the time we got home, it was around 10 p.m., which isn't super late, but we'd been out all day, so I'm still catching up today. But the rally itself was really good and exciting. It wasn't too highly attended in DC, but that's okay because the people who were there really spoke well. They had Code Pink there, Medea Benjamin, who runs that, and some other organizations that I wasn't as familiar with, but people gathered, and Medea spoke, and a lot of other people spoke. They had a megaphone that they were talking into, and just talking about how jailing Assange is awful for press freedoms. It's an affront to the First Amendment, and something has to be done about it. And even journalists crossed the line. So the protesters were standing on one side and the journalists were standing on another. And at one point, Medea Benjamin said, you know, this is about journalists, so why don't some of you come over and speak? And some did. I did not. Maybe next time. But actually, Lee Camp, if some of you are familiar with Lee Camp, he spoke. And Cassandra Fairbanks, who has quite a following on Twitter, she spoke. So it was a good event. And then actually after that, they were going to go protest about Venezuela. So they were very busy. Anyway, I digress. Go ahead and watch that video. It's up on our YouTube channel, and you can see the whole thing, the protests and the speeches and the being in front of the British Embassy, all of that. And again, that was in DC. Right now, I'm upset. I might not look upset. Let me get on my upset face. I am upset because Bernie Sanders has not yet spoken about Julian Assange's arrest, of him being ripped out of the Ecuadorian embassy, not of his own volition. Apparently, he was asked to come out on his own and he refused, which good for him. So they went in, dragged him out, and we all saw the pictures and the videos after that where he has this long, like Santa-like beard, Santa Claus, and his hair's long. He has a man bun. It didn't look like the Julian Assange that we're used to seeing, that's for sure. I don't know how to describe his mental state. He didn't look well. And it's hard to find a version where you can hear him talking because only Rupley was there, which I hear is like a part of RT television. Only Rupley was there filming, and so they didn't have the sound on. But from what people were reporting, he was screaming, "The UK must resist," or something similar to that. And he was holding a Gore Vidal book, something about the security state. So I actually ordered it on Amazon. It should be here today. Just he was holding that and making sure that everyone could see it. So it seemed like he was kind of sending a message. So I ordered that book just as part of my shock, you know, when I found out that this had happened and the book he was holding, I immediately said, okay, Julian Assange wants us to figure out what this is and he wants us to read this. So anyway, sorry I keep going off on tangents. I really am upset about this whole topic. It's the fact that Julian Assange, a publisher, a journalist, was arrested and might be extradited to the United States, where God knows what will happen, is just, it's stomach turning. It makes you feel sick because, as we'll see later on, Daniel Ellsberg, who was a whistleblower releasing the Pentagon Papers way back when, He said this is just the start of it. If Julian Assange is allowed to be arrested and if he is tossed in jail for an unknown number of years or given whatever punishment, that's just the start of it. All journalists have to be afraid and fearful of what's coming next. So the very fact that Bernie Sanders, yes, this is going to be about Bernie Sanders, and I know some of you will be upset. I'm not of the faction of Bernie fans, and I will disclose that I do intend to vote for Bernie. But I'm not of the mindset that he can do no wrong. Of course he can do wrong, and he does often. I didn't like his answers on reparations, for example. I don't like a lot of the things he stays silent on. And this time, he has stayed silent on Julian Assange and his arrest, completely silent. Whereas Tulsi Gabbard, Jeremy Corbyn, Mike Gravel have come forward and made statements. And I thought Bernie was more anti-establishment than this. I didn't think he would bow down to the corporate media, who is totally dismissing and even laughing at Julian Assange and his arrest. It's disgusting. And Bernie is staying silent. And that upsets me. And I'm sorry if it upsets you that I'm speaking poorly of Bernie Sanders, but he needs to be held to account, just like any politician. You know, politicians aren't our friends. We can have hope in them and find hope in them. You know, Bernie Sanders gave me a lot of hope when he ran in 2016, and he still does. And he's done some great things, such as pushing everyone, essentially, on the Democratic side to the left. Medicare for All is now within reach. And if Medicare for All passes, it will be because of Bernie Sanders, and he will save millions and millions of lives. He's kind of like a Superman in that way for pushing Medicare for All, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean he's doing right on this issue. Press freedoms are important. The corporate media is bad. Bernie knows that. Why? Why then is Bernie not coming forward and saying anything? He could very easily. He could run it by the people he has. I know he's running for president. He has people surrounding him. Some are probably saying, no, 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 you shouldn't say anything right now, or you should wait and see who else comes out. By the way, Hillary did come out and say something, and of course you can guess that she was not on Team Julian Assange because of the 2016 email leaks that were related to her, the DNC emails, the Podesta leaks. By the way, I said hacks, leaks, not hacks, just as a side note there. But this indictment of Julian Assange has nothing to do with 2016 and what happened at all. Nothing. It has to do with what Chelsea Manning released, the collateral murder video included, and the government is saying that Julian Assange collaborated with Chelsea Manning in order to release these documents. There's a list of 4 things that they say Julian Assange did, such as suggesting things to help Chelsea Manning, at the time Bradley Manning, access certain documents. Julian encouraged him to get more things. I mean, these are the things they listed as wrong and criminal. Can you think of any journalist who wouldn't ask their source to get more things? Like, please find me more on this topic is a very normal thing. So it doesn't make any sense what the indictment is in general. Bernie should see this. I know Bernie sees it. I really want to know his opinion. I know everyone wants to know his opinion. So why isn't he saying anything? And I'll keep repeating that. Why? I don't know. No one has the answer except for Bernie right now. I'm not the only one who feels this way, so I'm gonna go through some reactions from people on Twitter who are also waiting for Bernie's response here on this. Here we have the Twitter, as Jordan would say. By the way, Jordan is, hold on one second, let me put myself back on here. Jordan is not doing this tonight because he dropped his computer in the bathtub. Now, I could go on and on about this, but Jordan likes to work in the bathtub, dropped his computer, had to take it into the Apple store and pay, X dollars to send it off and get it fixed, and hopefully it will be fixed. So he has no computer right now, and depending on how the fixing goes, he might not in the future. So that's a good reminder. Become a member to support Status Coup. We don't mean to drop our computers in the bathtub, but when it happens, we need your support. Statuscoup.com/join. Just a little side note there. So we have this tweeter, Jason Lamb, saying, Senator Sanders, I supported you. I've seen you as a thought-provoking leader that stood for something. In your final years of life, you have tarnished your legacy. You've made your true stance known. When they came for Julian Assange, you said nothing. You let me down, Bernie. That is a very powerful message from that person, Jason Lamb. He has let people down. He's let this person down. And this person, Jason, is even is going as far as to say that he's tarnishing his legacy. And that very well may be true. Because while you can make a case against Julian Assange for many reasons, not because he's done anything criminal, but because there's so much misinformation out there, so much conflicting information out there, conflicting information such as Obama's DOJ said we can't prosecute Assange without prosecuting other prosecuting US journalists. It just can't be done. And then we have Trump's DOJ saying, oh, yes, we can. Here we go. Here's this indictment. And having the UK arrest him, working in coordination, obviously. And Bernie's saying nothing. It's awful. We have Vanessa here saying, anyone familiar with the deeds of the US government knows that Julian Assange is in imminent danger. Playing it safe is not an option for Senator Sanders or anyone else who cares about our future. Indeed, people are really worried about Assange's health, mental health, physical health, everything. Michael Goddard here saying, I'm pretty pissed off. Bernie playing politics over truth. Nico House did a video, Bernie's deafening silence on Julian Assange. Haley here saying, Bernie Sanders, you need to speak up and prove you're the leader we think you are. Hashtag Julian Assange, hashtag free Assange. Let's see here. People are begging him to support Julian Assange. They're saying, Bernie, please help, please help. This article will go into Daniel Ellsberg. And so this person, Brian Troutman, says, Daniel Ellsberg nails it. Bernie Sanders would do well to read and reflect on Ellsberg's take, awaiting Bernie's response to the whole Julian Assange matter. So obviously we have people who are really upset here, who have opinions on Bernie not speaking up. People waited all day yesterday for Bernie to speak up. He didn't. People waited all day today for Bernie to speak up. He didn't. Will he? I don't know. It seems like the timeline where it would make sense for him to comment has sort of passed. I don't know if he'll still take time to comment. Maybe he's waiting for the next step. In any case, Jeremy Corbyn, who is the leader of the UK Labour Party, who's kind of, people call him the Bernie Sanders of the UK, has commented. He's not running for anything at the moment like Bernie Sanders is, so he doesn't have to be as careful. Still, it doesn't matter. Jeremy Corbyn immediately, before I say immediately, let me make sure of the time. Yeah, 3:34 p.m. Yesterday, he spoke on this. And so in the UK, it was later than that, I believe, by 6 hours. I could be wrong. Sorry about that. But he spoke on it. And he said, the extradition of Julian Assange to the US for exposing evidence of atrocities in Iraq and Afghanistan should be opposed by the British government. And I haven't actually listened to this clip, but let's go ahead and listen to it.
And we should recall what WikiLeaks actually disclosed. Who can forget the Pentagon video footage of a missile attack in 2007 in Iraq, which killed 18 civilians and 2 Reuters journalists? It is the monumental amount of leaks such as this that lifted the veil on US-led military operation in a variety of theatres, none of which have produced a favourable outcome from the people of those countries. Julian Assange is not being pursued to protect US national security. He is being pursued because he has exposed wrongdoing by US administrations and their military forces.
Okay, so we have the Labour Party comment there. Labour Party being a very progressive party in the UK. Let me adjust my microphone here. We also have Tulsi Gabbard, who's come out. And Tulsi is running for president, as you know, and she is fearless, it seems. She seems to be on many issues more to the left than Bernie, and she came out and spoke on this at 5:04 p.m. yesterday. And what Tulsi said was, the arrest of Julian Assange is meant to send a message to all Americans and journalists. Be quiet, behave, toe the line, or you will pay the price. And for some reason, I'm not following her, so I will follow her while I'm there. So what Tulsi is saying is all journalists need to care about this. All journalists need to be paying attention. All people, all Americans need to be paying attention to this, because it's saying journalists have to toe the line. Journalists have to stay in line, not veer off course, not investigate, not look under the rug, not do anything, not do the job of a journalist. They're just supposed to apparently regurgitate what the government is saying. That's what the government wants to happen. That's not what journalists like Jordan or I are going to do. No matter what, we're going to continue to investigate and uncover corruption. But they're sending a warning shot to journalists by the UK arresting Julian Assange, by his possible extradition to the United States. They're sending a warning shot to all journalists, and we need to pay attention. That's what Tulsi Gabbard is telling us, and thankfully she did. She also went on Jake Tapper and did a really great, had really great things to say. Let's listen to that. This is on Tulsi's YouTube channel.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange arrested in London on charges of conspiracy to hack U.S. government computers, which contain classified information. Joining me now to talk about this and more, Democratic presidential candidate, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii. Congresswoman, aloha. Thanks for joining us.
Aloha, Jake. Good to see you.
So you served 2 tours of duty in the Middle East. You're currently a major in the Army National Guard. Assange, along with Chelsea Manning, spread classified information that prosecutors at Manning's trial claimed could have brought harm to U.S. service members in Iraq and Afghanistan. Do you agree with that? And what do you think about Assange's extradition and prosecution in the U.S.?
Look, over time, there hasn't been any proof that that has been brought to bore. And what we have seen is that so much of the information that's been released has informed the American people about actions that were taking place that they should be aware of. It provided transparency around issues both related to civil liberties as well as actions that our military was taking in the Middle East that they should not have been. So really, I think what's happening here is some form of retaliation coming from the government saying, hey, this is what happens when you release information that we don't want you to release. And I think that's why this is such a dangerous and slippery slope, not only for journalists, not only for those in the media, but also for every American, that our government can and has the power to kind of lay down the hammer to say, be careful, be quiet, and fall in line. Otherwise, we have the means to be able to come after you.
So you don't think that he should have been extradited, and you don't support his prosecution in the U.S.?
I think the charges about hacking, look, those can and should be worked out in the court of law. My point is that I think there's a bigger issue at play here. There's a reason why the Obama administration chose not to extradite and prosecute Assange, because they understood the danger. They understood the danger of the government coming in and controlling essentially what information is and is not being released. We can go back to the release of the Pentagon Papers as an example. We can look to how the American people have benefited from some of this information being released. So I think we've got to look at it within this larger context here and make sure that we understand what's at stake and actually the danger of what happens when we have people in government, whether it's this administration or a future administration, basically saying, hey, look, we can call WikiLeaks a foreign intelligence agency. We can designate an individual as a foreign asset or this or that, simply because they don't like the information that's being published or they don't like the things that you're saying.
So there you have Tulsi's take, and you might have heard that she does think that the allegations of hacking should... Oops, sorry about that.
So we have...
Hold on 1 second. You heard the Humanist Report coming on there automatically. Tulsi did say that she supports the hacking allegations to be played out in court. So that's different than some other people's opinions. They think it's all totally bunk, that of course Julian Assange did not assist Chelsea Manning in hacking, and that it's just all kind of made up or all exaggerated or whatever the thought is in order to come up with any excuse to get Julian Assange in jail. So let's go to another person who's running for president. Again, not Bernie Sanders, and it really is frustrating, really, really frustrating that he hasn't commented. So we have Mike Gravel, who is a former senator and who is running for president, kind of. So he has young people, I hate to use the term young people, but that's what they are, who convinced him to run for president in order to push everyone left. So it's like what Bernie did, but Mike Gravel is even further left than Bernie is. So Mike Gravel's Twitter accounts are run by these young people, these whippersnappers, and they're great. You know, they say great things that make good sense. And this time, though, Mike Gravel released a statement himself that was then posted on Twitter about Julian Assange's arrest. Let's go to that Twitter. So this is the official statement from Senator Mike Gravel about the arrest of Julian Assange. And he says, "Today I stand with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. I have been an advocate for Julian Assange and a defender of WikiLeaks for years, participating in several online vigils on his behalf and defending the journalistic methods employed by the organization. What is being done to Julian Assange is a travesty. Admittedly, he is controversial, and some of his actions deserve condemnation. But what he is being charged on, a 2010 leak relating to exposing American war crimes, including the murder of journalists, was a noble act, one that he should be applauded for. What he did was standard journalistic practice. No matter what you think of someone on a personal level, no one deserves to be unjustly imprisoned on charges of doing the right thing. Julian Assange should immediately be pardoned by the U.S. government. No one who watched the videos that WikiLeaks released can seriously disagree. Whistleblowing is in the public interest, and it is the duty of the press to publicize these leaks. No journalist deserves to be in prison for that." And then he signs it, Mike Gravel. So Mike actually goes further than Tulsi did and said that Julian Assange should be immediately pardoned. So where would Bernie Sanders fall in line with this? I kind of think he'd fall under the category of thinking it should play out in court, but that in overall Julian Assange should be, if found to not have hacked anything, should be released, should be fully pardoned. I think that's where Bernie Sanders would fall. I hope that he would fall somewhere between or around Tulsi Gabbard and Mike Gravel, but I don't know because he hasn't commented yet. Very sad and very frustrating. So whistleblowers are few and far between, but one of the most famous and most important is Daniel Ellsberg, and he was the one who photocopied, because he was working in the Pentagon at the time, he photocopied and released the Pentagon Papers, or what became or came to be known as the Pentagon Papers. And Daniel Ellsberg has released a statement as well. And in reading all these statements, I just think it's important to see what great minds are thinking. And where, and to kind of feed our minds with where leftists fall so we can maybe figure out where Bernie might fall. So this is an interview on truthdig.com, and the interviewer is Sharmani Paris, and the interviewee is Daniel Ellsberg. And Sharmani asks, Daniel, your reaction to what has just happened to Julian Assange in London? And Daniel Ellsberg replies, it's a very serious assault on the First Amendment, a clear attempt to rescind the freedom of the press, essentially. Up till now, we've had a dozen or so indictments of sources, of which my prosecution is the very first prosecution of an American for disclosing information to the American public. And that was ended a couple of years later by governmental misconduct. There were 2 others before President Obama and 9 or so under President Obama. So pay attention to that too. And there were 2 others before President Obama, so that makes 3. But 9 under President Obama. He was awful on this topic. Of sources, none of these having been tested in the Supreme Court yet as to their relation to the First Amendment, hasn't gone to them. This is the first indictment of a journalist, an editor or publisher, Julian Assange. And if it's successful, it will not be the last. This is clearly a part of President Trump's war on the press, what he calls the enemy of the state. And if he succeeds in putting Julian Assange in prison, where I think he'll be for life if he goes there at all, probably the first charge against him is only a few years, but that's probably just the first of many. So he's thinking that right now he has this first charge, but that once he's here in the United States, he's going to be hit with charge after charge after charge. And the goal will be to keep him in prison, to kill him, to let him die off, to make sure that he can never release leaks to the world again. In my own case, so back to Ellsberg, in my own case, my first indictment was for 3 counts, felony counts. That was later expanded to 12 felony counts by the end of the year for a possible 115-year sentence. So I think this is a warning shot across the bow of every editor and publisher in the country. If they make the connection of the Real News Network book that he was carrying with him into prison, which I think Gore Vidal would be very pleased to see him associated with this incident in terms of defending Germany, they wrote Germany, but they mean Julian Assange's rights, but they may connect you. You may be in the next conspiracy trial with Julian Assange. It may not take much more than that. I see on the indictment, which I have just read, that one of the charges is that he encouraged Chelsea Manning to give him documents, more documents, after she had already given him hundreds of thousands of files. Well, if that's a crime, then journalism is a crime. Because just on countless occasions I have been harassed by journalists for documents, or for more documents than I had yet given them. So none of them have been put on trial up till now. But in this case, if that's all it takes, then no journalist is safe. The freedom of the press is not safe. It's over. And I think our republic is in its last days. Because unauthorized disclosures of this kind are the lifeblood of a republic. Think of those last couple lines there. It's chilling. The freedom of the press is not safe. It's over. And I think our republic is in its last days. Because unauthorized disclosures of this kind are the lifeblood of a republic. So Daniel Ellsberg has warnings for us all. And it makes it even more clear why Bernie should be commenting on this, why he should be doing a deep dive into everything that's going on, everything related to Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, who, by the way, Chelsea Manning is still in jail. She has finally been taken out of solitary confinement, and that's because she refused to testify in a grand jury over WikiLeaks. So it is connected, and finally she's out of solitary confinement, but she's still in jail, and she should not be in jail. She was granted clemency for releasing the documents and the files in the first place, but now she's been tossed in related to WikiLeaks. Anyway, Bernie should be reading comments from people who are begging him to come forward and make a statement. Bernie, please, please make a statement on Julian Assange. The freedom of the press depends on it. The First Amendment depends on it. Don't let us fall into this state. Don't let Donald Trump get what he wants, or the people around them get what they want, or the DOJ get what they want, or the deep state to get what they want. And what they want is for Julian Assange to be locked away forever so that he can't do the good journalistic work that he does. Bernie, you've got to do this. So I forgot to do something in the first segment, and that is to ask you to smash that like button on this non-live stream. Why do we constantly tell you to smash the like button? Well, it's because YouTube has an algorithm, and the more likes we have, the more comments we have, the more activity we have going on our stuff, the more our video is seen, and more people see it, subscribe, like status quo, all that stuff. So your like helps, so just like it. If you're on mobile, then you have to close the live chat, and then you'll see a like button. And then you can reopen the live chat and keep chatting with us. So like that like button. And as I said, it also helps if you share, comment, do all that stuff. It really, really does help. This next one is hard because it's so frustrating. I've used that word a lot this live stream. Sorry about that, but it's true. I'm a very frustrated girl today. So obviously you know that Jordan and I do a lot of reporting in Flint. Jordan's been there bunches more times than I have, but I've been there. I think this will be my 4th time coming up because we are going again at the end of April. So it really, really frustrates me whenever I hear of something that is hurting the people of Flint, or something that's not helpful to the people of Flint, or just anything that should be done better for these people who've been poisoned, these 100,000 people who have been poisoned by lead in their water and other contaminants and other awful things. There have been deaths. There are children who can't remember their ABCs or their numbers. There's a lot of bad associated with the water crisis in Flint. And so people still rely on bottled water. You go to people's houses in Flint still today because the water is still not safe and the residents know it. And you'll see piles upon piles upon piles of bottles of water. You know, people still donate to the churches there, so people go pick up from the churches, or those who do have the money, which a lot of people do not, go to the grocery stores and just stock up on bottles of water for the week. But it might surprise you, or it might not, to know that Nestle is donating water. It's not a good thing, though, and they deserve no kudos, and I'll get to why in a second. They are also extracting tons and tons of water from that very same area to use and to sell. So it's a gross thing. We've actually reported on this kind of before, but it's just been renewed. And so we have some new information to report on this very gross thing that's happening with Nestle. And you probably are aware that Nestle is an evil company in general. They have done terrible things to push their formula in developing countries where it's caused malnutrition and deaths and all of that because they don't have a safe water source, etc. So getting back to Flint, we have the new Associated Press article posted 2 days ago, April 10th. Nestle pledges free water for Flint for months. Oh, great. That's great headlines for Nestle. Thank you so much, Associated Press. Except that's not what's going on. It's not helpful. They can take their ice mountain water and do something else with it because they are devastating the area of Flint and in Michigan, and they're just an evil, evil company. So beyond the headline, the article, which is really short, says, a bottled water company says it will keep free water flowing in Flint through August. We'll get to that in a second, the through August part. Nestle Waters North America produces the Ice Mountain brand in western Michigan. The company said Wednesday it will continue to send bottled water to distribution sites in Flint. And for the record, the official distribution sites have been shut down, and they were shut down under Governor Snyder. So now now Flint just has the sites where people donate the bottles of water, such as Ice Mountain, and then churches and other organizations hand the bottled water out to people for free. This effort by Nestle started in May 2018 after then Governor Rick Snyder stopped supplying water. Nestle predicted Wednesday that more than 6.5 million bottles will have been donated by the end of August. Mayor Karen Weaver says she's grateful for Nestle's help. Flint's water quality has greatly improved since lead contaminated the system in 2014 and 2015, but tap filters are recommended and some residents simply don't trust the water. Crews, meanwhile, are replacing lead or galvanized steel water lines throughout the city. So here we go. Let's start with this up here. A bottled water company says it will keep free water flowing in Flint through August. Through August, Nestle is extracting tons and tons of water essentially for free. And again, I'll read an article about that. And they're only going to keep the water flowing in Flint through August? They should be keeping the water flowing freely until the water crisis is over. Absolutely. The least Nestle can do is that. Let's see here. Mayor Karen Weaver says she's grateful for Nestle's help. Why on earth is Nestle getting any kudos at all when they are, once again, extracting the free water for their own profit and gain? And Nestle has only promised to supply water through August. Not to mention, this is just a wonderful marketing opportunity for them because the headline just says that they're supplying free water and good for them. Oh, they're helping Flint. Bravo, let's go buy some Nestle products. And that's what Karen Weaver is furthering by saying she's grateful for Nestle's help. What Karen Weaver should be doing is trying to put pressure on the governor now, Gretchen Whitmer, to reopen the free bottled water pods because the water's still not safe, and Karen Weaver knows that. Karen Weaver should not be grateful for Nestle's help at all. She should be doing a lot more to... she should be doing a lot more in general. She's not as bad as some people on the water crisis, but, she's heard of our reporting, seen our reporting where we showed that the water tests in Flint were flushed, meaning the lead was run out of the water before the samples were taken, so the results are inaccurate. And she's done nothing about it. So you can't say that Flint's water quality is greatly improved and that residents just don't trust the water. The water is still not safe. It's good that they're replacing the pipes in Flint. It's good that there's still free bottled water, but there's not enough to go around. And the state needs to keep supplying water. The governor needs to keep supplying water. And Mayor Karen Weaver needs to keep doing more. She needs to not bury her head in the sand, and she needs to not be grateful for Nestle's help. So why am I so bitter about Nestle? I know I keep just saying Nestle's awful, Nestle's this, Nestle's that, and get their stupid water out of Flint. Well, this next article is the reason why. Nestle, so this article's from 2017 actually, but it will paint a picture of why this Nestle headline is so stomach-turning. Nestle pays $200 a year to bottle water near Flint, where water is undrinkable. While Flint battles a water crisis just 2 hours away, the beverage giant pumps almost 100,000 times what an average Michigan resident uses into plastic bottles. And it starts off with an anecdotal story. A mother talking about bathing her children with the water, the bottled water, and that she won't even water her plants with the water. So again, this was back in 2017. This was before, they declared the water safe and all of that. Let's see here. Also, another important point is to note that Flint pays some of the highest water rates in the U.S. for poisoned water. So here we go to the Nestle part. Just 2 hours away from Flint, in the tiny town of Everett, creeks lined by wildflowers run with clear water. The town is so small, the fairground, McDonald's, high school, and church are all within a block. But in a town of only 1,503 people, there are a dozen wells pumping water from the underground aquifer. This is where the beverage giant Nestle pumps almost 100,000 times what an average Michigan resident uses into plastic bottles that are sold all over the Midwest for around $1. To use this natural resource, Nestle pays $200 per year. $200 per year. Meanwhile, in Flint, just 2 hours away, people are devastated, don't have clean water. So Nestle's little gifts of water really mean nothing when they're paying $200 per year, not per month, for this water. They can give it away, of course. It doesn't hurt their bottom line. It's water. They get to pump it, extract it freely, and oh, here we go. Let's make some good headlines, some good advertising by throwing Flint a bone and giving them some water. It's so disgusting. Now Nestle wants more Michigan water. In a recent permit application, the company asked to pump 210 million gallons per year from Everett, a 60% increase, and for no more than it pays today. In the coming months, the state is set to decide whether Nestle can pump even more. The proximity of the Nestle plant to Flint's degraded public water supply has some Michigan residents asking, why do we get undrinkable, unaffordable tap water when the world's largest food and beverage company, Nestle, bottles the state's most precious resource for next to nothing? Doesn't seem right. It's almost like a civics class for us Flint folks, said Lester. You shouldn't be able to profit off of water. It's free. It came out of the ground. Bottled water is a necessity of life right now, said Chuck Wolverton, a Flint resident. He won't touch his tap water. He drives 15 miles outside of town to his brother's house to shower every night, where he often also washes his clothes. His water bill, he said, was around $180 per month. I don't even give it to my dogs. In a state where officials denied Flint's water was poisoned with lead, where Detroit residents choose between heat and water, where the waterborne pneumonia-like Legionnaire's disease killed a dozen, and where gastrointestinal bugs spread among residents who lacked or don't trust water, Nestle's request seemed like salt on a wound. Don't seem right because they're making profits off of it, Wolverton said. With the money they make, they could come and fix Flint. And I mean the water plants and our pipes. And that's what it comes down to, is Flint could do so much more. As I said, they are offering free bottled water for, I don't know how much they're donating, through August. Really, they could take the profits that they're making, like the guy Wolverton said, and fix Flint. If they want great headlines, then do this. Then fix Flint, Nestle, okay? Don't just donate some bottled water for headlines and advertising just to look good. Fix Flint. You are pooling water, natural water, just 2 hours away from Flint and profiting off of it. It's water, the most vital. Our bodies are 70% water. The earth is 70% water. Those aren't exact figures, but it's around there. And we need water to live. Flint is suffering still. So, Nestle, you're not doing enough. And Mayor Karen Weaver, giving Nestle kudos is just gross. It's absolutely gross. And so here's a little update of Nestle's extraction. So in that last article, you heard that they were coming up for a vote on being able to extract more. So here we go. April 3rd, 2018. So this was last year. Michigan okays Nestle water extraction despite 800,000 public comments against it. So they aren't listening to the public. They don't care about actual residents and people. In a much-watched case, a Michigan agency has approved Nestle's plan to boost the amount of water it takes from the state. The request attracted a record number of public comments, with 80,945 against and 75 in favor. Nestle's request to the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, who, by the way, this is the MDEQ, these are the people who tested Flint's water the wrong way and who trained other people and residents to test water the wrong way and to flush the lead out. They're a corrupt agency. So Nestle's request to pump 576,000 gallons of water each day from the White Pines spring well in the Great Lakes Basin was highly controversial. But despite deep public opposition, the agency concluded that the company's plan met with legal standards. It's very clear that this permit decision is of great interest to not only residents in the surrounding counties, but to Michiganders across the state as well, MDEQ Director C. Heidi Grather said in approving the permit. In full transparency, the majority of the public comments were in opposition of the permit, Grather added, but most of them related to issues of public policy, which are not and should not be part of an administrative permit decision. Under the plan, Nestle will be approved to pump up to 400 gallons of water per minute from the well, rather than the 250 gallons per minute it had been extracting. The company first applied for the new permit in July 2016. Water is a complicated and sore subject in many areas, but in few places more so than in Michigan, where a crisis has raged for years over high levels of lead and other dangerous heavy metals in the water in Flint. With that recent history as backdrop, Nestle's plan to boost the amount of water it takes from the Great Lakes state drew attention and added another dimension to the debate over whether water should be seen as a commodity, a commercial product, or a human right. So again, going back to this, they pay next to nothing to extract this water. So not only did the MDEQ not listen to public comment and gave some BS reasons why they weren't listening to public comment, but Nestle pays next to nothing and then tosses Flint next to nothing and makes themselves look good and gets kudos from the governor or from the mayor of Flint. As I mentioned, we are going back to Flint at the end of this month. There's nothing we can do about Nestle except expose them. So, I'm not buying Nestle products with all that they do, and definitely don't think anyone should, to be honest with you. I am glad that they're giving free bottled water to Flint, but it needs to be for the duration of the water crisis, which is still not over, and it needs to be more. It needs to be every single person in Flint gets that water, or Nestle gets the heck out of there. So when we're in Flint, we're going to premiere our documentary. And if you haven't heard, our documentary is very cool. Ty Bayless has been working very, very hard on it. That's why you haven't seen Ty around lately. I've never seen a documentary like this. It's so well done. I just can't say enough good things about what Ty has done with it. But it follows Jordan and I on our reporting through Flint last summer and last fall, where we went to Flint and uncovered that the MDEQ was testing the water the wrong way, was flushing the lead out, and was instructing CORE, the volunteers who were working with them, and residents to do it the wrong way as well. So the documentary shows you exactly what's going on. It shows us, because back then we weren't on, we weren't going live. We weren't doing videos because we didn't want anyone to know what we were doing. We went and knocked on 450 plus doors. We found many examples of the water being flushed, which gets the lead out. We ran into so many sick residents, so many residents with rashes, cancer, internal issues, children forgetting lessons they learned, ABCs. We heard one story of a grandmother's grandson who had to crawl to the bus stop. I think she said he was 8 years old, has to now crawl to the bus stop in order to get there because it affects your bones, it affects your entire body, this lead. So kids are regressing. They're desperate for clean, fresh water. And this documentary shows that every step of the way. There are scenes that will make you cry. There are scenes that will make you happy because of what we found and how we're presenting it and all that. So I know you'll definitely want to watch our documentary, Flushing Flint. And it's going to be available for rent or to purchase. I think we're going to do that through Vimeo. So you can rent it or purchase it. But if you're a member of Status Quo, which is really the greatest kind of member to be, you get to watch the documentary for free. And all Flint residents get to watch the documentary for free. They get it free no matter what. But if you're a member, a $5 a month member, a $10 a month member, a $20 a month member, a lifetime member, you get access to the documentary for free for as long as you're a member. So that's an awesome perk. And, you know, honestly, the rental fee will probably be around $5. So you may as well join so that you can watch our documentary, get great behind the scenes content too, because we're going to be doing more. We're going to be filming more in Flint when we go this time. Members will get access to behind the scenes content from this time. We're going from April 22nd to the 29th, I believe. And you'll get access to it all. So I urge you to go to statusquo.com/join and become a member, whether it's 5, 10, 20, or lifetime membership. Please do that now. We have this goal of reaching 300 members very soon, like today would be great. So please, if you aren't a member yet, and I know many of you are, and thank you, it's good. Please head over to statusquo.com/join. So forgo the Starbucks coffee tomorrow or the McDonald's or whatever. And I don't mean to make light of people's economic situation. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Don't take any offense, please. But if you're someone like me who goes out and buys a coffee or wastes money on a 2 cheeseburger meal from McDonald's like I did yesterday, instead, put your money towards helping us get to Flint. So your membership helps us get back to Flint and pay for everything that we need to pay for. And it helps us continue to investigate so that we can help Flint as much as possible. So you helping us helps us help Flint, if that makes sense. So please, statusquo.com/join. And let's actually go to that page right now. So this is the join page, and it says, "Hey there, thanks for visiting Status Quo News. The very fact that you're on this page means that you're ready for something different in your media. You're tired of the same old from the reporters on MSNBC, CNN, and all the others. You're ready for progressive, independent, investigative, and in-field reporting. We exist for the truth, and you're ready for the truth. That's exactly what Status Quo offers, and we offer it ad-free. We are entirely supported by our members and donations. Hopefully, you're already familiar with our content and style of reporting and the fact that we're free from corporate pressure. We cover what we want and what you want and need to know. We don't mean to brag, but there's no other company that does it the way we do. Our motto is to give the microphone back to the people. Status Quo gives a voice back to ordinary citizens who otherwise wouldn't be able to get their story out there. From the Flint water crisis to the oil pipelines in Virginia, to police brutality and racism in Chicago, to Amazon and homelessness in Seattle and beyond, we're there with you, the people. You're here on this join page for a reason. We need 8 more people to get to 300, so please be one of those people. You've come to love and trust our reporting because you're a passionate, good person who cares about this country and the world. Meanwhile, the majority of people are completely asleep to the truth. But you're different and awake and ready to make waves to make the world a better place. You're the ideal Status Quo member, and as a member, you'll get exclusive behind-the-scenes content and awesome perks, depending on the level you choose to join. And remember, I told you you'll get free bonus content from our upcoming trip to Flint, like stuff no one else gets to see, from pictures to videos to video diaries, all that stuff. And you get free access to our documentary. We have options for every budget level. Support us by becoming a member, and we'll be able to investigate more corruption in people, corporations, governments, and more. We'll also be able to get out in the field more to shine a light on stories no one else is covering. Please make today the day and join Team Status Quo. And here you go. You can see what you get, and you can see what you want. You can just click the button, and it'll take you through becoming a member. For $179, you become a yearly member. It's a great deal. Here's a peek at some member content that we have. Jordan just did a behind the scenes on the Flushing Flint documentary, so only members get to see that. The behind the scenes as well as the documentary itself. Please become one of those 8 people today. They got the trailer early, members did. Here's my video diary with me making a very goofy face. So you can see that becoming a member is totally awesome. You get lots of great stuff. And I really want to get to 8 people. And actually, Jordan kind of challenged me to get to 300. So we need 8 more people. You are one of those people, right? So go to statuscoup.com/join. And that is all for today. Smash that like button, share this video, comment on this video. Help us out, you know, even if you can't become a member, that's totally okay. You're sharing the video on your social media pages really, really helps. Everything helps, and we really appreciate you guys. Go to statuscoup.com/join. All right, bye-bye.